Welcome to Episode 2, Customer Discovery, where we discuss the most underrated skill in early-stage entrepreneurship and why most founders get it completely wrong. This is part of the Founder Playbook. This program is brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team. This video is part of our comprehensive Founders course, Starting Your Company, which goes from idea to launch across 6 modules and 28 episodes. The course is broken down into 6 modules. Module 1 focuses on validating your idea. Module 2 covers the legal foundation. Module 3 is about funding your company. Module 4 covers building your business. Module 5 focuses on building your team. Finally, Module 6 discusses growth and scale. This episode is the second of 4 in the Validate Your Idea module. We'll be focusing on customer discovery, which is talking to real people before you build anything. Most founders skip customer discovery, building for months based on assumptions, only to launch to no audience. The best founders, however, talk to real humans before writing a single line of code. They let the market tell them what to build, making customer discovery a high-leverage activity. Customer discovery is the process of deeply understanding the people you're building for, their problems, behaviors, workarounds, and frustrations before you commit to a solution. It's not about pitching your idea, it's about listening to them. The common mistake is asking the wrong questions. Questions like, would you use this app? Do you think this is a good idea? Or, how much would you pay for this? Generate false confidence and provide unhelpful answers. People are polite, and their hypothetical intent doesn't equal actual behavior. This is where the mom test comes in. The core principle is never to ask anyone if your idea is good. Instead, ask about their life, problems, and actual behavior. Make it impossible for them to give you a false positive, even if they want to be nice. To practice the mom test, talk about their life, not your idea. Ask about the past, not the future, using phrases like, tell me about the last time you dealt with this. Most importantly, listen more than you talk. If you're talking too much, you're pitching, not discovering. We'll now look at the right framework. 5 questions every customer interview should include. These questions form the backbone of a high-signal customer discovery conversation. Adapt the wording to your context, but never skip the intent behind each one. The 5 questions are, walk me through how you currently handle the problem, to map their workflow. How often does this come up for you? To gauge urgency. What have you already tried to solve this? To confirm the problem is real. What's the hardest part about the situation? To find their language for the pain. Finally, who else in your world deals with this? To secure referrals and validate widespread need. Next, we'll cover how to find your first 10 people to talk to. Most founders freeze here, but you don't need a large audience or a fancy recruiting process. What you need is resourcefulness and a low ego. Use this 4-channel recruiting playbook. Start with LinkedIn to find relevant job titles. Search Reddit and other online communities where your target customer complains. Join niche Facebook groups. Finally, don't underestimate your existing network for warm introductions. The recruiting message that works is short, honest, and low pressure. It says, hey name, I'm doing research on how target customer type handles specific problem. I'm not selling anything, just trying to understand the problem better. Would you be open to a 20-minute call this week? This message is transparent, low commitment, and flatters them, leading to good response rates. Finally, structure matters when running the actual interview. A good discovery call has a clear arc, building rapport, exploring their world, and ending with a path to more interviews. Run your 20 minutes like a pro. Here is the minute-by-minute structure for a successful 20-minute interview. Start by setting context and confirming anonymity. Next, ask background questions about their role and day-to-day work. Spend the core time on the 5 key questions, and let silence work for you. Wrap up with a general open question, and most critically, ask for referrals. Now for Chapter 3, Reading the Room. Not everything you hear is valuable. Your main job is to separate high-signal responses from what is merely polite noise. This distinction determines whether your discovery truly informs your decisions. Look for these green lights, which are signals worth getting excited about. These include describing the problem unprompted, having already tried to solve it, asking when they can use your solution, or immediately referring you to others. These show real, urgent pain. Be aware of these red flags, signals that should give you pause. Vague enthusiasm like, that sounds really interesting, is a politeness reflex. Future tense commitments like, I definitely use that, are unreliable. If they can't recall a specific example, the problem isn't frequent or painful enough. Finally, look out for a wish, not a need, which indicates a, quote, vitamin product. The biggest trap in discovery is confirmation bias. You want to hear yes, so your brain filters out red flags. The fix is to write down the 3 most surprising things you heard after each interview, especially those that contradicted your assumptions. If you find none, you weren't listening well. Always remember the gap between what people say and what people actually do. They might say they'd pay or switch tools, but their past behavior shows otherwise. Your job is to anchor every conversation in past behavior, not future intent. Chapter 4 covers synthesizing insights across 10 to 20 interviews. 1 interview is a story, 10 is a pattern, 20 is conviction. We will show you how to turn these raw conversations into actionable direction. Your synthesis system has 4 steps. First, capture. Write a 5-minute brain dump after every interview, using exact quotes. Second, code. Tag recurring themes with consistent labels. Third, cluster. Group tagged items into 3 to 5 major themes, focusing on problems appearing in 40 to 50% of interviews. Finally, conclude with a summary of your beliefs and uncertainties. Use this lightweight interview debrief template to keep your notes consistent and comparable. Fields include the top quote, the core problem, their current solution, frequency and severity, referrals, and your overall green or red flag read. Use the pattern threshold rule. Don't act on a single powerful interview. Wait until a theme appears in at least 5 to 7 of your first 10 conversations. If 5 out of 10 people bring up the same problem unprompted, you have enough signal to move forward. Prioritize problems based on frequency and severity. High frequency and high severity is your primary target. Low severity means a feature, not a business. Low frequency but high severity is a potential business. But watch the market size. Low frequency and low severity is a nice to have, and usually not a sustainable business. In this live demo, we will walk through a mock interview, focusing on what right looks like. Observe how the questions unfold, and what the interviewer chooses to emphasize or ignore. Here's the difference between the wrong approach and the right approach. The wrong approach pitches the idea and asks hypothetical questions, resulting in false validation. The right approach asks about a specific past event, establishes frequency, and uncovers real pain. A good interviewer asks about a specific past event, not a hypothetical future. They follow the emotion, using an ugh as a signal to dig deeper, and they might ask 2 questions at once to prioritize their interviewee's pain points. Finally, after your first 10 conversations, you should be able to write a crisp, specific problem statement. If you can't, you either asked the wrong questions or you haven't done enough discovery yet. The problem statement formula guides you to fill in the specific customer type, their specific problem, and the context, which costs them time, money, or stress. It also includes their current workaround and why it fails, all in their own words. An example of a vague problem statement, which could describe 1,000 products, is on the left. On the right is a specific and grounded problem statement, based on real interviews, which gives you something precise to build against. How many interviews are enough? Start with a minimum of 5 to identify rough patterns. Aim for 10 to reach the confidence threshold, where you find clear signal. At 20, you should have deep conviction on the problem and customer. Once you hit saturation at 20 to 25, stop talking and start building. Discovery has diminishing returns. The goal is to reduce uncertainty enough to make a smart bet. You can stop discovering and start building when you can predict what interviewees will say, have 2 to 3 crisp customer archetypes, and know exactly who your early adopter is. Discovery is a continuous loop, not a phase. The cycle involves talking to understand the problem, hypothesizing a testable solution, building the smallest thing to test it, observing what users actually do, and iterating by refining your beliefs and talking to people again. Let's review the common discovery mistakes. Even experienced founders make these errors, so review this quick reference before every interview sprint to ensure you're seeking truth over validation. The 7 discovery sins include pitching instead of listening, only talking to easy people, skipping the referral ask, and taking notes during the interview. Also avoid over-indexing on one interview, asking leading questions, and never sharing findings with your team. Here is a concrete 14-day plan to run your first discovery sprint. Days 1 to 2 are for prep, days 3 to 5 for recruiting, and days 6 to 10 for running interviews and booking the next round from referrals. The sprint concludes with days 11 to 12 for synthesis and clustering themes, and days 13 to 14 for writing your problem statement and deciding to pivot, go deeper, or start prototyping. Great founders never stop doing customer discovery. They treat it as a continuous practice, not a phase. The habit of seeking truth over validation will serve you for the entire life of your company. Here are the key takeaways from this video. Never ask if people like your idea. Finding people is a skill, not luck. Read signals, not sentiments, because patterns beat anecdotes and discovery never truly ends. Now, go talk to someone.